Peter Bender, I'm the Managing Director and owner of Huon Aqua Company. We started the operation in about 1987. We were land-based farmers before this. We were growing cattle and sheep on the family farming property, and myself and my wife wanted to diversify into doing something different from the family farm. So we thought we'd try fish farming. Aussie Farmers Direct to me is a great way to sell the product. The fact that it's able to be delivered to people's doors in such a fresh way is a really good way to get the product out there. I think the philosophy of Aussie Farmers Direct is similar to our own in that they are dealing direct with the producer, and we are Australian farmers, and I think that's great that we've got people out there that are willing to support that. Tasmania's probably got the most ideal conditions for growing salmon of anywhere in the world. Salmon prefer a water temperature between about 12 and 16 degrees is where they get the optimal growth, and in Tasmania we're in that vicinity. Our site's in the lower channel. There's no landmass between there and Antarctica, so it's completely open to the Southern Ocean. So it's a very pristine area. It's some of the cleanest water anywhere in the world. It's unpolluted. It's just a great place to grow salmon. The people that work at Huon are really passionate about what they do. We have really created something here that's totally new. We've pioneered an industry and grown something from nothing into something that's really important.
My name's David Mitchell, and I'm the Fish Performance Manager at Huon Aquaculture. I trained as a marine biologist and then as an aquaculturist, and I've got 25 years working on fish farms around the world. This is one of our standard 120 metre circumference pens. It's set up with a jump fence. One of the biggest issues in Tasmania, as it's such a pristine environment, wildlife abounds, and there are a lot of seals, and seals love salmon. You can see we've now gone up to 3 metres, and at long last that's just enough to stop them jumping in. What you see in the background is we've got a converted milk tanker that's bringing our small fish called smolt. They're about 140 grams. They've just come from one of our hatcheries, and we're just about to discharge them into the pen. So they've been feeding for about 10 months to reach that size of 140 grams, and now they're ready for the sea. We put about 50 to 60,000 fish into the pen, and eventually they'll end up at about 8 to 10 kilos per metre cube. That might sound a lot, but in fact it's actually less than 1% of the pen volume. They have plenty of space to roam around. In the middle of the pen you can see we've got a 3-ton feed hopper. There's a cone hanging underneath with an infrared sensor which detects the pellets. When the fish are hungry, they're all up near the surface, and as they get full they sink down in the water column, and pellets go through that sensor and eventually switch it off. The feed costs about $1,700 a tonne. It's about 50 to 60% of our production cost, so we don't want to waste any. But also we don't want to waste any because if we do, then we would self-pollute our environment. This is one of our tow boats. We'll tow the individual pens quite slowly at about 0.5 knot per second. The fish have been grown in our offshore sites out round the corner, and we're now bringing it back into sheltered waters for harvest. The towboat will go quite slowly so that the fish aren't stressed, and it's quite a gentle journey for them. The towboats tend to be old decommissioned fishing boats, of which there are quite a few now. The tow from the offshore site into here is about 7k, and that'll take about 6 to 7 hours. What you see behind you is a net cleaner. It's got cogs on it which walk up and down the net, and a suction head which is a bit like a vacuum cleaner. So this is another example of innovation in the aquaculture industry in Tasmania. It was designed here, a bit like the AquaSmart feeding systems which were also designed here, and a lot of these things getting exported across the world now. One of the reasons that quite a lot of innovation has come out of Tassie, even though it's only 1% of the world's salmon farming industry, is the fact that we're so remote from anywhere else, and it costs a lot of money to ship new innovation here. So the locals have got inventive and creative. What you can see is a freshwater bath for the salmon. It's not that they're unclean, but they've got a parasite that lives on the gills, an amoeba, which would cause them a problem if we let it go too long. So the treatment is immersion in fresh water. What the freshwater treatment does, it will kill the amoeba, which will basically take on board lots of water and blow up, and the water also breaks up all the cell proliferation and gives the fish a nice clean gill again afterwards. In a 14-month production cycle, we have to treat the fish about 6 to 8 times. You can see them porpoising, and that's just to fill their swim bladder after being lifted out of the water into the air and they're just equalising again.
We do a lot of things at Huon that are probably a little bit different to what may be done overseas. Each site gets fallowed for anywhere between 3 and 6 months every year. And that allows the seabed to recover so that we don't have a build-up of faeces on the seabed, and we do that because it's the right thing to do environmentally, but it's also the right thing to do for the fish. You can farm fish for the whole year and then ruin that right at the end if you don't have the right harvesting method. And working in conjunction with a local inventor, we designed a way of harvesting the fish. It's actually won an RSPCA award in the UK for humane harvesting. And we can actually prove that that the fish go under less stress. Salmon in the local Tasmanian economy is now the largest agribusiness sector in Tasmania. It's actually worth more to the state than all of the other wild fisheries and the rest of aquaculture put together. And it's also now the largest fin fish sector in Australia.
To read more about the story of Huon salmon in Tasmania, check out the winter 2011 edition of Aussie Farmers Direct magazine. Available free to customers or for download at aussiefarmers.com.au. Aussie Farmers Direct is all about always 100% Australian, supporting Aussie farmers. Convenience, with free home delivery by your local milkman. And freshness, fresh products delivered direct from the farm to you. Visit aussiefarmers.com.au.